The world is becoming more unglued by the day. Local consequences are now showing up. We are seeing sky-high gas prices, higher food prices, shortages, and more. How should you respond? Go to redpills.tv/patriot. That's redpills.tv/patriot. And secure your long-term emergency food storage from My Patriot Supply. My Patriot Supply is by far the largest preparedness company in America. They're in stock and shipping quickly in unmarked boxes to your door. Their emergency food supplies last up to 25 years in storage. When you need it, it'll be there. Lunches, dinners, drinks, and snacks totaling over 2,000 calories a day. Get free shipping on any order over $99. Again, go to redpills.tv/patriot.
From the spaceship in the sky to the simulation in the mind, let's all embark on another journey of Conversations on the Fringe.
All right. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world. My name is Josh, and welcome to the Red Pill Project's Conversations on the Fringe, live with you every Friday night at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. This is where we bring you those conversations that are outside of the typical norms, the things that are saved for campfires and private conversations with friends, that the conversations I think that people should be having more of these days, especially the ones that we're going to have tonight. We're going to be talking about, again, with Gail Lynn, the harmonic egg. We're going to be talking a little bit about autism. We're going to be talking about healing. We're going to be talking about a lot of great topics. Our two guests tonight, obviously, Gail Lynn, who has been on the show before, world-renowned visionary, inventor, and pioneer in the realm of frequency healing, celebrated for her groundbreaking creation of the harmonic egg, the innovative sound and light frequency chamber designed with the aim at fostering holistic healing and wellness. Welcome, Gail. And then the new guest tonight is Suzy Miller. I'm excited about this one. Suzy's the CEO and founder of Blue Star Education and Research since 1999. The company is dedicated to supporting your integration and that of your child by reclaiming once separated aspects of the self, working with children of autism for many, many decades. This is going to be awesome. She's also a world-renowned author. So we're just going to get started here. Let's start with Suzy, because I want Suzy to kind of give her bio for everybody so the audience can really, truly embrace what she's been doing. And then we're going to get into talking about the other aspect of things, so frequency and resonance and healing aspect of all of this. So Suzy, welcome to Conversation on the Fringe.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for being here. So tell me a little bit about kind of your background, educational background, professional background.
Yeah, so I was a pediatric speech language pathologist from 1986, way back in the day, until about 1999. And that year I met a little boy diagnosed with autism for the first time. And when I met him, he was walking around in his daycare center saying, "It's the millennium, it's 1999. And through my speech pathology eyes, I thought, he's a freaky little kid, he's a little different. But he walked up to me on that day, looked me in the eyes, and he said, "Master." And when he said "master," I had some kind of experience rush through my body. I took him to the back of the daycare center, and closed the door. And as I was sitting at the door, letting him walk around, he kept saying, it's the millennium, it's 1999. And all of a sudden I saw what looked like a body of light floating above his physical body. And I'd never seen anything like that. I'm pediatric speech language pathologist, so I'm science and education and, that kind of mainstream thought process. And I kept rubbing my eyes. The light body wouldn't go away. So finally I said what any sane person would say is like, what the heck am I seeing? And I heard this little boy's voice in my head. And he said, that's my light body. You're here to put my light body back into my physical body. And so from that moment forward, I've had those diagnosed on the autism spectrum seeking me out, finding me. And to this day, they're all telepathic. They're communicating with me, telling me what to tell their parents or what to tell the professionals or people that work with them. And I'm a very good listener, so that's what I do. Yeah.
That's pretty awesome. So what are your thoughts now on autism itself? Because, if we went back to 1979 to 1982, around that time, it's 1 in maybe 1,000, 1 in 3,000 children be affected by autism.
1 in 10,000.
1 in 10,000.
Yeah,
we moved to the 1990s, maybe now it's 1 in 1,000. 2000s, now it's 1 in 100. Today, it's 1 in 4. Obviously, there's something going on environmentally, I would say, externally.
Well, yes, but I think we have to go back to a little different vantage point.
Okay.
So now we've got about 1 in, I would say, 34, 36 kids right now is diagnosed. And when I ask the collective consciousness of the children what that is about, they've always said the same thing. Yes, environmental factors play a huge role, but why? Why do environmental factors affect some of these kids or some of the kids that are born these days, but not all of them? And what the kids were saying is that some kids are coming with a much, you might say, more refined consciousness, a much more refined state of being. And because of that, it's very difficult for them it's almost like it's very difficult for that level of soul, that vibration of soul, to interface with the physical human body. And because that physical human body is much denser, you might say, in vibration than who these kids are as souls. So every time I've ever asked anybody, and tens of thousands of clients from all over the world at this point, so lots of feedback, they all say the same thing. It's a vibrational mismatch between the soul and the physicality that they've come into. And all of those environmental factors that you were talking about, they all absolutely play a role, because those environmental factors are not good for any evolving soul.
Right.
Right.
So this is interesting in what you're saying, because it kind of seems to validate a few different theories that I've had throughout my life. I've been a researcher of the esoteric mysteries, occult, for 30 plus years. And one of the things that I realized about reading all these various mythologies or ancient scripts and scriptures and stuff was that there were parallels between the various different cultural societies, right? The various different cultures. And these parallels had some type of relevance to either science or consciousness or the internal self, the spirit. And I started just kind of tearing that apart to look at it really at a finer perspective, to see if I could see a scientific, a rational interpretation of what maybe our ancestors were trying to relate to us. I came to the understanding by looking at it like Kabbalah, that firstly, go to Einstein, energy equals MC squared, which we start to understand that the amount of energy has to be equivalent to the amount of mass that is contained within a system, right? So a infant baby cannot hold a full conscious soul. So the soul slowly comes into the body over time. And this is why we have throughout many different ancient cultures coming to age ceremonies. days.
Right.
And this is where the soul is finally coming into the body and coming fully aware. And I even had this moment in my life when I was about 11 to 12 years old, where I came, like, I just remember from that moment on. It was like one day I'm like, just a little kid playing. The next day I'm like, whoa, this is real. Like this is reality. And like I grew up at that moment. And it's really what kind of started that whole drive to find that out. But it's that the soul comes into the body during this time, and that, it's like you said, it's kind of like hanging out and it's waiting to be integrated. But
Right.
at the same time, we're going through this life and we're, breathing the air, drinking the water. We got the polluted and contaminated soils. We got the foods that are coming in. We got the DNA damage that's coming from all different types of environmental factors. And all of these things play a role, maybe not a major role, but a role in how that energy is going to be uptaked into the body. On the other hand, another recent theory I've had in the sense of the collective consciousness is that if we look at ancient societies, we see a lot less within the population, but there's a lot of stories of these people living a lot longer lives. And so the question is, and then also having psychic abilities, also having, highly technologically advanced societies. And if that's the case in less population, then do we have a collective consciousness that is finite in its energy that disperses through all the conscious entities on the planet? Which means that humanity itself, in a less population density, would have a higher raised consciousness, more intelligence, more connectivity to nature, and various different psychic abilities, where when we become very extrapolated, where we are now 9 billion people, that is more dispersed. And so those talents and those psychic abilities don't get distributed as much. It's just a theory that I've had, but it kind of makes sense when we throw it into that. I'm just throwing it out there, but...
Yeah, it makes, what I want to say about that as far as the kids are concerned is that the frequency band, or the vibrational, the information field that they hold is exponentially more refined than what ours has been, what humanity's has been up to this point. From my vantage point, regardless of how many people are on the planet or not, we have a consciousness that came in through these kids, quite frankly, because humanity asked them to come. It's like back in 1986, there was something called the harmonic convergence. And at that harmonic convergence, it seemed to be the first time that souls at a much higher clip could come in or start coming in mass. There were kids diagnosed with autism that were coming in before that, but coming in like as a mass population. And so when I asked the kids, like, what was that about? They said, well, you asked for us. Up to that point, we had a very patriarchal kind of reality, that more masculine energy, that more action oriented energy, whether it was in a female body or a male body, doesn't matter, but that masculine energy was predominant. And even by 1986, that 9 billion people around the world, there must have been some level of a tipping point, because there was what the kids would say is like there was almost like a call that went out that said, we need a new kind of human. We need a new kind of human that is more refined. We need masculine energy that is softer. And in 1986, when the kids start coming in mass, most of those kids were boys. Most of those kids were in boy bodies, male bodies. And yet those male bodies held an amazing degree of intuition. They were so tapped in to emotional energy, mental energy. They were much more refined, and thus started this whole movement away from that masculine dominant patriarchal reality to what we have now, which is all of those divisive kind of energies. They're all falling apart now. They're all coming to the surface. We're seeing all of them. We're being aware of all of that.
We call it the old guard.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So it's like now that's all. And I'm not saying that kids with autism are the only ones that are supporting that. We're all up leveling. But every time I've ever asked them, they're like, well, number one, we've not really been here before. Like a lot of times they will say they haven't been here since, like eons ago, eons and eons ago. They haven't been here since the time that we had lighter bodies.
Mhm.
And so the fact that they're even trying as souls to be here now is huge. And that's where things like the harmonic egg really come in, because there's this there's this desire for these souls to be as integrated as they can now. And things like the harmonic egg and what Gail's created are really helping to make that possible. So
Absolutely.
yeah.
Gail, for the new people that are here, can you kind of give? I'm just it- I have to give Gail a massive kudos here for people out there. I went and did the harmonic egg, and it completely changed so many things in my life. It healed me. It was a completely spiritual experience. It healed me not only mentally, physically, but emotionally. The effects last for a long time. It's truly an experience if you have never tried it. And so I'm happy to have Gail here, because it's just, the thing is remarkable. And Sharon, I know Sharon's probably listening. Sharon, I will be back. Don't worry. I've just been busy. I will be back. I need to get in. But I've had so many people in this audience, probably hundreds of people in this audience have gone out and located a harmonic egg, and they have all sent me feedback and are like, oh my God, listen to this story. Oh my God, listen to this story. Oh my God, like this long-term ailment is healed, or this emotional damage that I had is now gone. I can't even begin to explain to you how significant it is. We had one, and I'm going to read this. I'm not going to give the person's name out, but this is a message they sent me, and I want everybody to listen. This is one of the reasons why Suzy is here tonight. It says, Josh, my daughter is 24 years old with high functioning autism. Her biggest issue has always been social anxiety. So after Gail was on the show, the Harmonic Egg founder, they looked it up and took her daughter to 5 sessions. Her anxiety and anger towards me have completely disappeared. And for the first time, she expresses love emotion to me. We're going to do another 5 sessions. Like, people, I don't know if you understand. This is like a game changer.
Mm-hmm.
And it seriously is. Like, I've had massive spiritual experiences in my life, things that I've done through meditation. I've had drug-induced ones.
Mm-hmm.
When I was in the harmonic egg, there was this effect that came upon me to my head. It was after everything. It was in the silence after all the music ended. It was in that point of silence, and it was this whirling sensation that I've had before during Wim Hof breathing sessions. But in this time, I wasn't deep breathing or anything like that. I was just really relaxed, and I was able to control the whirling in my ear, and it was like a loud whistle, and it hurt really bad. And let me explain it for everybody, and then we'll kind of get into it. But it started as a whistle sound outside of my ears, and it's literally it's audible outside your ears, and there's no music, there's nothing, there's complete silence, and it gets stronger and stronger and stronger until your ears actually start to hurt. And I'm like, whoa, what's that? And you shut it off, and all of a sudden it goes away. And then something in my mind said, bring it back, and I brought it back. And it got more and more intense. And then I was like, nope, too strong. I shut it off. And it says, do it again. Bring it back. And I started doing it. And the center of my brain, I'm not talking about like right here, my forehead. I'm talking the center of my brain started oscillating. I could feel my brain literally like moving inside my head. And I could feel the pressure. And I'm like, I think this thing's going to kill me. It wasn't going to kill me for obviously. But it was a Kundalini experience. It was a Kundalini awakening. And I'm sitting there going, I can literally, like, this is physically feeling this. And right when it was ready to pop, Sharon opened the door. She goes, I gave you a few extra minutes because I felt you needed it. Is everything okay? And I'm like, oh my God. And this was the craziest thing. I get up, okay? I get up from the chair. She's helping me. I got the blanket, right? And I'm like, get my little blanket. And I get up and I turn around and I go to the side of the chair to grab something. And she's like, nope, 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 leave it there. And I'm like all confused, like, there's nothing there. What am I trying to grab? She just goes, just leave it there. Come on. And took me out. And I'm like, why do I feel like I left something behind? Mm-hmm. And I want to pick it up and take it with me. Mm-hmm. And she goes, that's all that emotion. That's all that stuff inside of you. All those unlinkings that you just did, you just left behind. And I'm like, whoa. And kind of another experience is there was somebody that I had emotionally disconnected with, former relationship in my life. Right when I got out to my truck, that person called me and said, I all of a sudden don't feel well. I'm now sick. What is going on? Like, I just, all of a sudden I hit flu-like symptoms. I don't feel well. I have this pending doom in my stomach. I'm like, oh my God. Like, this is unbelievable. So I want to give Gail the kudos that she deserves with this, because that was, and the things that people are sending me are just as intense. Mm-hmm. Like, it's mind blowing. And I haven't had one person that has said they were going who didn't write me a story of the experiences they had when they went. So for everybody out there, go find a Harmonic egg.
Yeah, do
it. But Gail, I hope that was a good introduction for you.
Perfect. Yeah. Well, let me just say how I met Suzy, because that's the fun part. Well, I created the pod, but it really wasn't, it came through me. It's not from me. It just kind of came through. It's very galactic. It's very, it's here for humanity to connect to their higher self, to take our power back, to really learn who we are as magical, amazing beings. And that's what it's done for me. It's increased my intuition, but it's also gotten rid of my migraines. My hair used to be falling out, obviously not anymore. Cystic acne, thyroid issues, liver issues, just all this stuff. We're vibrational beings of light and sound from source energy. So we should be healing with sound and light. And so I created this harmonic egg, and Suzy and I have a mutual friend. Her name is Sandy. So Suzy and Sandy were together. Sandy was ghostwriting my book, Unlocking the Ancient Secrets to Healing. And Suzy was telling her that the kids had been telling her about this pod that was going to come to the planet. And Suzy's like, I don't know what they're talking about. It's some crazy pod. I don't know what's going to happen, how it's going to show up. And Sandy was like, the light bulb went off. She's like, I have to connect the two of you. And so she gets us on the phone. We both start crying because Suzy then says, the harmonic egg is the pod that the kids were telling me about for years. And I'm mind blown, because I'm thinking, what did I just bring through? And what is it going to do? And we've had, oh my gosh, within a few days, Suzy was on a plane to Denver. She's inside the egg. And Suzy, if you want to tell them about your experience, because it was really cool.
Yeah, I went into the egg specifically. It was January 2019 during meditation, where the kids came and they said, there's this pod that, is going to help us integrate, find it. And so as Gail was saying, we met through Sandy. So I'm on the plane, I get to the harmonic egg, go in the egg, and my intention is this what I've been looking for? Is this what you said? And so I have this vision while I'm in the egg, and it's basically, it basically looked like a tree of life or something like that. And there were these pods, like harmonic eggs, hanging kind of like low-hanging fruit from this tree of life. And all of a sudden, all of those pods, they just dropped down onto the ground. And as they dropped down onto the ground, it opened up, and all these kids started coming out. And they were coming out, you might say, from the place of who they really are, like the truth of who they really are. And so I was like kind of going, yep, I'm pretty sure this is the pod that we were looking for. So yeah, it was amazing.
Yeah, it's been so cool. And I just keep hearing more and more stories. And so Suzy and I have become really good friends. And Suzy's become a mentor to me with the autistic community, because what I had originally learned about them is they can be violent and they, this and that. And I was scared. I was literally scared. And then when Suzy came into my life, she said, you know what, Gail, that's when you're not trying to understand them, when you're, they're frustrated because you're not even trying. And she's like, you have so much compassion and love that that they're going to be so good with you. And I've had him come in and want me to pick him up. 4-year-old, just looks at me and puts his arms up. And I'm like, wait a minute. I thought they didn't like eye contact. They don't want to be touched. And, it felt like I was standing there for 20 minutes, but it was like 20 seconds. I'm like, what do I do? So I pick up the kid and I've had him come in and just say, okay, this is what I want. I want turquoise light and gold light. They seem to always pick the same colors. The turquoise is a high heart energy for them. And I'll give them the remote and they know exactly what they need. And they'll say, okay, I want to read this book. Okay, go ahead and read the book in there. And then they'll ring the doorbell. Okay, I'm done with the book. And sometimes in the silence, they'll ring the doorbell and they want me to turn the sound back on because it's more relaxing for them. So I let them conduct their sessions because they're so intuitive. They're so amazing. They're so beautiful. And I just am so grateful to Suzy for really helping me walk through that door and really learn how I can interact and be, with these beautiful souls. I have watched some of the most amazing things from them. One little boy came in and he had a 50-piece puzzle. And he would put it together in order, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Like he knew how to do it. And I'm thinking, these kids are brilliant. They're awesome. Yeah. They're beautiful. And so Suzy writes the book, Awesomeism, about the autistic community. And it's so true. And so now I'm watching your chat too and seeing people say that they're off their allergy pills after 2 sessions. I can't tell you, I know exactly what it's doing, but I think it's bringing the body back into homeostasis. It's helping us raise our vibration. It's bringing us to more of a place of love and gratitude and really just making us realize that we are all one. We are all connected. We are here together to love and support each other. And that's what the world needs right now. We need more community, more cooperation, more love, more gratitude. And that's really what I want for people that use the egg, is to feel that love and to go out into the world and smile at somebody or give to somebody, do something for somebody, and start really expressing that love for each other.
One of the things I do want to add is that for kids on the spectrum, there are so few people who actually listen to these kids or attempt to really get to know them. And just like when Gail was saying, I can't stress how important this piece is. When Gail lets those kids decide on the colors, decide on the music, let them intuitively choose, what she's doing is she's validating their awareness and the consciousness that they are. And I think that's also part of the reason why they do so well in those eggs, Gail, because I work with a lot of professionals who have all kinds of different techniques and theories and all kinds of other things. But what the kids will say often is, if you're just going to have that technique or that theory or that device or that whatever, and you're just going to push it on us, it's only going to work to a certain extent. But Gail doesn't do that. Gail is utilizing the harmonic egg to open them to, this integration between the essence of who they are and their physicality. And she does it knowing that they know the way, knowing that they can direct that pathway. And that is gold. That is gold.
Yeah. When I was in the harmonic egg,
I don't let adults do that because, with all the baggage, we don't, with the kids, it's like, they know.
Actually, I was going to say something about that. When I was in the harmonic egg, it was when the tones were playing, the music was playing, and I was in a meditation. And what I was visualizing was that I had energies just oscillating with me, but it was resonating and reconstructing, reforming from the egg. And that patterns that were oscillating off of me that are maybe toxic, parasitic, these types of things, they couldn't oscillate in the egg. They were lost in the egg. And so what happens is, the vision I get in my mind is that it's like an auto tuner for an instrument. Is a harmonic egg is just this auto tuner that just allows the correct geometry for your body's energetic nature to retune itself right back to its normal state. So talking about the kids and how they're going in there, that makes complete sense that this is going to help them integrate into the body. This is going to help them auto tune back into themselves and really kind of release all that, past trauma, past life trauma, all these things that are happening in our life, whether it's environmental, whether it's internal. But for me, I mean, there was a lot of visual structure that was going on in the sense of like, what is happening in here? Because it's a very odd feeling when you're first in this thing. It is. I mean, the first 5 minutes, I felt claustrophobic. It was weird. I felt like are we going to take off to Mars or something? Like, it was just very eerie. But then my heart rate started to increase a little bit. And then I started to relax. And I just kind of gave into the music. Surrender. That's a good word for the egg. Surrender. Just let go. Surrender. Even if you fall asleep, it's well worth it. Just surrender. And I just had these visuals because I was in hypnagogia. I was going in and out of hypnagogia where I can kind of have lucid kind of imagination. And I was just picturing what was happening. I just had these waves that were going through the egg and coming back. And there was like minute waves, like they were carrier waves. And inside the information was just breaking apart. And that was all the toxicity and the stuff in my life, just breaking apart because it could not be contained within the geometry. So I don't know if that makes sense, but that was my experience.
Well, I feel like I was able to download the consciousness of Edgar Cayce and Wilhelm Reich and, observations from Royal Rife and Nikola Tesla. And, I'm looking at your chat, so I want to comment on a couple of things. Yes, we need one in Tennessee. There was a comment that came through a while ago about having a quiet room in the school in her son's school. And yeah, I think we have a home unit now that people can put in the schools to have some quiet time, to go in and they just, you can go in yourself and put yourself in. Canada has 50 of them now. So, hey, Ontario, yes, you do have a bunch of them. And it's not a franchise. So what I wanted to create was more of a divine feminine business model of cooperation. And so we have a family of egg guardians that we support in a cooperative business model. And we don't have the patriarchal business model of the franchise or something like that. So we don't take the royalties. And we just created 3 new pieces of music. So the session I did today is called Selva, and it's jungle in Spanish. And I had a really beautiful musician, which we create this consciously created music. And he recorded 3 pieces of music, one in the Amazon jungle, one in the top of the Andes, and one called Costa when the whales were coming through mating in Peru. So I listened to Selva today, and I really felt like I was immersed inside the Amazon jungle with the birds. And he just was in there recording the piece and playing some native Peruvian instruments. So really cool stuff that we have going on, and just kind of keep increasing the consciousness and the vibration of the egg so that it matches with where we're going with raising our consciousness on the planet and also Mother Gaia.
I love that. And the music, so is the music kind of isotronic or hemisync? Is that kind of what you guys are using?
No, I don't like hemisync, holosync, because I don't think that, especially with the autistic community, we don't want to force their brain to come into balance. I might be right, or I'll say, right, left, right, left. And I still don't want that to be a forced energy. So we use only natural energy with live instruments. And a lot of them are just instrumental pieces, not a lot of words. But we do have some mantra music that we're implementing now because of the high vibration of Sanskrit and Buddhist mantras. So most of it is instrumental, using the waveforms of the instruments. And you never know if the egg vibrates right now about 1500 hertz by itself. Mm-hmm. And so you don't want to put somebody in 528 hertz. If the egg is at 1500 hertz, we don't want to bring them down. Or a specific person might be vibrating at 800 hertz as you're raising your consciousness and, on this ascension process. And so we don't want to put them at 396 hertz on the solfeggio suite. And we only use the WAV files. We don't use MP3 files because they're compressed. And, Steve Jobs did not do us any favors by creating the iPod and putting 1,000 songs on there that are just cold and clinical. And so we use the full expression of the music. And, if people want to learn more, Kay Gardner wrote an amazing book called Sounding the Inner Landscape. And she talks about the different waveforms of instruments and how the instruments of flute will help the liver, and piano can help the nervous system, and drumming can build the immune system. So all the music is designed around the waveforms of the instruments, keeping in mind that the egg is vibrating at 1,500 hertz.
That's another reason why the kids were calling for that egg then. I didn't know that. Actually, I didn't know what it was. Yeah, but that, again, that higher frequency band, it's like, of course, that's going to feel like a sanctuary to them.
Yeah. Crazy. Talk to me a little bit more about how the harmonic egg works, at least in your thoughts, or what your thoughts, because you mentioned Reich, you mentioned Tesla. What were your thoughts going through it when building this, constructing this?
So Tesla has, said things like, so it's been said, if you can find the secrets of 3 6s and 9s, you can unlock the mysteries of the universe. So it's kind of paneled with 12 sides. So there's your 3. 2 plus 1 is 3. There's a hexagon platform inside that the chair sits on. And we want the chair to be this way and not this way, where your feet, at one speaker and your head at another. It needs to be straight on so that the speakers are coming in and immersing you in that kind of like a headphones and the parabola of the egg. So the hexagon platform, I later found out, was a portal. So it acts as a portal in the center of a hexagon. So there's your chair right in the middle of a 6-sided sacred geometric form. Then 360 of the spiraling, and it's made out of wood. So you have that energy of not holding any information or energy from the previous client, like crystals can do. So 360, 6 and 3 is the 9. So the 3, 6, and 9. With Reif, I love Reif, and I think he was brilliant when he used the universal microscope, and he would know exactly what the patient or client needed. But now people use the spooky 2 and some things like that with frequencies that he created for, say, parasites or allergies in the 1940s and 50s. It's mutated since then. So our bodies are not going to respond to those frequencies in the same way that they did in the 40s and 50s. But they don't use this universal microscope anymore. I think there's only one left in an undisclosed location that Stephen Ross knows about. And Suzy and I are good friends with Stephen and the Wisdom Library. So, people are now understanding that frequency medicine is the medicine of the future, but now we have to be responsible with it. We have to be discerning. We can't abuse it. We have to be really careful what we put our bodies through and the energy that we put into our bodies. Wilhelm Reich had the Oregon box. And so I read a lot of stuff that he's done. And if you look at how he marketed the Oregon box, I can really kind of say this is our marketing material, right? And then you have Edgar Cayce, who said in one of his last, he wrote a little manuscript called Aura, or Auras, right before he passed away, and said if someone would bring together the spiritual forces of sound and the spiritual forces of light, it would be a great modality for the future. And that was in the 1940s. So here we are now, finally using sound and light, which is an ancient technology, and it's working, and people are actually seeing how their body can respond to sound and light, as we are vibrational beings of light and sound from source.
I love it. Suzy, so can you tell us a little bit about maybe some of the experiences you guys have had with bringing children into the harmonic egg? Maybe because have you seen kids who have maybe had some other problems that have had these resolved or things like that?
Yeah, we had one just recently. Gail and I have one of the harmonic egg owners and I have a mutual client, and was talking with this client one day. She was literally getting off the call with me to go to the Harmonic Egg. This little girl is like 9 years old. There's a piano at her home, and for all of her 9 years, she's been sitting there just like slapping the keys on the piano and banging away. And she came back from her session with the Harmonic Egg, and her mom literally like texted me right afterwards and said, "Oh my gosh, she's playing the piano." So it's like it went from banging on the piano to like she literally had songs inside her, and they were there all along. She just couldn't get them out until that energy was reorganized. And so the Harmonic Egg did that. Yeah, it was pretty impressive.
Grandmaster Wolf. He was a Tibetan monk. He's trained with Zen Buddhist 30, 50 years. Dr. Dean Radin is actually working with Grandmaster Wolf right now. He's in Australia. He's from New Zealand, lives in Australia. He's got amazing powers that he demonstrates on his channels. Dean Radin is testing these powers for him to show that they're really real. Telekinesis, telepathy, all different types of stuff. He's blowing up. He'll put a balloon inside of a balloon and blow the balloon up inside of it without touching the balloons. And he's doing it with his mind. He's making objects move with his mind. And he tells a very fantastical story. But one of the things that he said was that he goes, when you're a baby, what you're doing is you're utilizing your energy. You're psychically trying to understand how to use your energy to move your body. He goes, when you're moving your hand, he goes, tell me where in your brain you're consciously thinking right now of moving your hand. You're not. It's just happening. It's just happening. He goes, that's a psychic awareness that is causing that to happen. And so when you just described, actually makes complete sense that these children have such a high heightened psychic awareness that they can't focus it into the body.
That's it.
Correctly.
That's it.
And it's exactly what he's saying as well. And it starts to make sense. That's what he says, that these are just extensions of ourselves. It's nothing more than my astral hand going out and moving the things, or popping the balloon, or my energy inside me. But he said that all of our bodily movements were psychic, that these are our intuitive bodies, our spirit, our soul that is actually producing that movement and motion. He says that's all that can do it. It made complete sense of how all psychic phenomena work, and how all, my whole life makes sense. But it also completely just explained what you just said right there of how these children have problems. And then on the reverse side, I have a family member who is someone's turning off my lights, a psychotic schizophrenic. And it's almost my kids. That's almost the opposite of that, right? Is that they are in their body, and then all of a sudden they become detached from it, to where everything that's happening in their external reality no longer makes sense. And that could be in the person that I'm talking about. He has a very, very high heightened consciousness, highly intelligent human being. And then all of a sudden, this deviation and these massive hallucinations, and a lot of the hallucinations came from the environmental aspects of things that were happening around him. But he could not extrapolate reality from the experiences. And to me, that's kind of like the opposite of what we're talking about here, is that the soul was losing connectivity with the body, the control over the body, to where that stuff was coming in, and you're perceiving two worlds, and you can't really, you're in between radio stations, and you're getting some fuzz, but you're also getting some songs.
With the psychotic, a lot of times there's a kind of a devolution process, you might say, instead of an evolutionary process, where they've got so much energy, or they've got so much consciousness that they're trying to deal with, you might say, and something that's not quite loving, not quite, can create a break. And once that break happens, it's almost like they move back out and away from their bodies, which makes perfect sense. The other thing I want to point out is, you said all of that psychic movement, as babies, that's why so many little kids, like up till the age of 2 or 3, are completely psychic. They read minds, they do all this other kind of stuff. the cool thing about kids on the spectrum is they maintain that pretty much throughout their life. There's a woman that just did a documentary. It's not out yet, so I won't say the name of it. I don't want to, but she was working with a neuroscientist that was studying autism, and they were studying the ability of those diagnosed with autism to read minds, to have emotional body transference, mental body transference. And parents that I talk to all day, every day are saying, my kid's reading my mind, right? It's like they're spitting out things, that intuitive psychic connection, that oneness connection that is evident through telepathy and through all these other kinds of experiences, healing experiences. These kids are maintaining that well after they get out of that normal developmental stage of like 3, 4. I mean, by the time most kids go to school, they've already started to shut down that psychic intuitive awareness. The kids on the spectrum just don't stop.
Right.
They're just continually doing that throughout their lives.
Well, and some of us would say that is the point of school.
Yeah, well, totally. Oh, yes, absolutely. Yeah. Shut them down.
Yeah, we need to change that. Suzy, so in Suzy's program to help, parents to really, I don't know, I'll say the words right, but, understand how to best utilize the gifts of their children is so brilliant. And so I want her to tell the story about the kid that was banging his head against the wall and how that manifested to what was going on with the mom. I love that story.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, what I understand is that most of these kids, the way they come here as souls, they actually don't come with a lot of their own baggage, you might say. And so just like anybody else who might have evolved out of their baggage, they are a clear reflective mirror of some of the energy that's going on around them. And, I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, autism is a challenging thing for any parent, so I'm not minimizing that in the least. But very often, a parent will look at a child diagnosed with autism and they will assume that that child needs to be fixed, right? She needs to be fixed instead of looking internally. So within the mentorship that I offer, like a lot of times parents come up with all kinds of different things about what's happening with their kids. This one kid was literally bang, bang. I mean, like slapping his forehead up against the wall over and over and over. And the mom kept saying, how do I fix that? How do I stop that? I don't want him to hurt himself. And we understand all of that. But I asked her a simple question. I said, how is it that you are banging your head up against the wall? How is it that you are pulling your hair out? How is it that you are feeling so frustrated? What's going on for you? And she literally started, oh my gosh, it's like so intense and it's so overwhelming and I don't know what to do about these things. And I do sometimes feel like I'm banging my head up against the wall. All she had to do was articulate that, say it, and the kid stopped. Just no more banging his head up against the wall.
Wow.
Yeah. And so, for parents to ask questions like, okay, I'm seeing my child do something. What does that remind me of? How am I feeling that same thing? How could that be maybe a reflection, not of bad parenting or anything like that? This is not a blame shame game at all. This is just, wow, what does that feel like? How can I reflect internally and see? I mean, I had a teacher back when I was still kind of half speech pathologist, half telepathic communicator, still hiding. And I was in this classroom and we had this little boy named James. He was like 4 or 5 years old. There were 5 kids in that classroom. There were 7 adults. So 5 autistic children, 7 adults. And James, this little kid, would leap out of his chair And every time we were in like circle and the teacher was reading a nice little story or something, he would leap out of his chair and he would attack her. I mean, he would go for her throat, he would pull at her, hit her clothes, didn't do it with anybody else in the whole classroom. And so after one of the, circle times, I said to this teacher, I said, I go, he's really beaten up on you, isn't he? And she said, yeah. She goes, he is. And I said, can I ask you a personal question? And she said, yeah. And I said, are you somebody who beats up on yourself? Are you somebody who kind of like really emotionally beats up on yourself? She started to cry on the spot. And she said, not only do I beat up on myself, but, my partner is not, all that supportive either.
Yeah.
She said, I'm also beating up on myself. I don't know if I should be working with these kids, if I have what it takes. And I said, what if James is just seeing you beating up on yourself and he's just reflecting that? He's just
reflecting the projection.
Right. Just demonstrating that. Sure enough, I said, just be kind to yourself. Just give yourself a little grace, little compassion. She did that. Boom. No more James jumping out of his chair and attacking her. It was like that simple,
How profound is it, though, that if parents had the right tools, the right information, the right education, that this whole situation that we're dealing with right now in the world, and I mean everything in the world,
Yep.
because we live in a very chaotic, confused world right now.
Mhm.
But if and I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that we are consciously evolving as a species, right? The harmonic convergence, and then we have one that I brought forth, and many others have been talking about as of recently. And this is our movement through the galaxy's arm. We go through very higher dense states of cosmic radiation, cosmic concentration, and that increases the propensity of the sun, and the sun changes the earth. And right now, people, by the way, the aurora borealis is going on outside. So if you're in they're seeing it as far south as Missouri right now. So you can see the northern lights as far south as Missouri. But I mean, this is the things that we're going through right now. Is we're going through these high density particle cosmic bombardments of our planet and our solar system, which increases the electrical potentiality of the sun, which then therefore is going to have an effect on consciousness. And I think that we go through these cycles. I think evolution is built into the universe. Conscious evolution is built into the universe. And I think that we're going through this awakening. And I think that some people are waking up from the dream, not liking what they're seeing and maybe not understanding what they're seeing. And I think some people are just still trying to stay asleep. And I think that many of us have been awake for a long time. And we're all sitting there going, I told you so. You guys should have listened to us, right? But either way, whatever that is that I think that a lot of what's happening in this world right now is simply explained. Is if we just kind of took Occam's razor's approach, is if instead we try to fit complexity into it and the pharmaceutical industry into it. And, we try to fit all these other tools and problems that come from the left brain rational mind into these solutions that have nothing to do with any of that. It's all on the right brain. It's all this spiritual nature that a lot of us have forgotten and lost. It's all about just listening to what the soul, the heart are really speaking. And if parents really knew how to listen, truly understood what listening was, this world would be a completely different place. And that a lot of these children wouldn't be institutionalized. A lot of these children wouldn't go through the school and education systems banging their heads quite literally, as well as internally trying to learn in an environment that's not conducive with them.
Yep.
Hey, Josh, there's a couple questions that came in on the chat. One was, are there any on Australia? There should be 3 in Australia by the end of the summer. So we are now manufacturing in New Zealand. So Australia is kind of up and coming. But someone says, doesn't the autism come from vaccines? So I wanted Suzy to kind of address that.
I knew that question was coming. I can feel that one on the way.
I know. I was waiting for it. And then I was like, there it is.
So Riley, the very first little boy that I ever came in contact with that started this whole thing, when I asked him what was going on for him, he told me telepathically, actually. He told me to go look at the American Medical Association journal for 1995. And he said, and you'll see what happened. And so I went and I looked, and in 1995, the American Medical Association justified why they should go from 12 vaccines from 0 to school age to 36. And so I went back to him and I said, is this vaccine related? And he said, yes. He said, in my case, absolutely vaccine related. And he said, what was happening is that, I mean, there's powers that work for consciousness and powers that work against consciousness, obviously. Pharmaceutical company, question mark about, what they're working for. But the fact is that what the pharmaceutical industry and what vaccines really took away from this population was their ability to communicate. So, if you have a kid who's coming in with this heightened state of consciousness, this heightened state of love, you might say, and then they get silenced, on the one hand, really challenging and really tragic, because now it makes it much harder. But on the other hand, there's nothing like a child who doesn't speak to put their parent on a spiritual path, to put their parent on a path of, how can I telepathically communicate with my child? Where can I make that connection? Where do I have to go to connect with them? So my theory is, like, there's all kinds of things that can slow down the process, and we want to have as much information about pharmaceuticals and about vaccinations. There's a great book by a guy named Tim O'Shea. He was one of the very first guys I ever connected with after Riley. And he has a book called Vaccination is Not Immunization. That's brilliant. I think the subtext to that is something along the sanctity of human blood or something like that. And so, it's like, on the one hand, you've got that slowing down of that process. And on the other hand, every parent I've worked with, for the last 30 years, they've all come because they have started their spiritual journey because their children show up the way they show up. And nothing like a mother's love or a parent's love, honestly, to try to break through that communication barrier. And in order to do that, very often, many of these parents are becoming telepathic. They're accessing something beyond what they would have if their kids were verbal communicators. So
Interesting.
Yeah.
Man. Well, we're putting the links out right now for anybody else who wants to go visit Suzy. If you want to work with Suzy, what do you guys have available for people at SuzyMiller.com?
All kinds of different things. So we have a 6-month mentorship that actually just started. So that'll be probably 8 months from now. We'll have one of those. We also have a 6-week integration series that happens every pretty much 8 weeks. There's something called the Children's Sanctuary, which is a monthly energy session that is really designed to really up-level the experiences that we have with these kids. And that's once a month on the last Thursday, and other things as well. But those are the ones that are primarily related to children diagnosed with autism.
I gotcha. And do you guys do anything with adults? Or is it just children?
Everything I do is with adults. There's no, I always think the kids are doing just fine, and the kids know exactly what they're doing. Like Gail was saying earlier, it's like she doesn't let the adults decide what colors and sounds, but she does let the kids decide. There's a reason for that. It's like the kids know, the kids intuitively know, and through no fault of any parent. We've all been, I'm the parent of 4 daughters, it's like we've all been conditioned in certain ways. And if we've been in a body for any amount of time, we've been imprinted. We hold all kinds of conditioning. And so it's nobody's fault, but it is true that we're looking through a lens that is very linear. Mm-hmm. And the kids are coming from more of a field that you might say is more spherical or whole, total oneness. Yeah. And so I work directly with the parents. The kids will come in usually through telepathy, or the kids will come in as a collective, tell me what those parents need to hear as we're moving through. And as parents really begin to understand what their kids are interested in, what their kids know that they didn't even know they knew, then their consciousness starts to up level. And as it up levels, they make connections. So a lot of times, even in the middle of 6 weeks, parents are like, oh my gosh, I didn't know that is why he was or she was doing what she's doing. And now that I know, now that I've said that and had awareness of it, now all of a sudden my child isn't doing that anymore, or they're talking more, they're doing something else more. It's, yeah, things change.
So what about parents with older autistic kids in their 20s?
Doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. Good. So I know there's one person listening right now who has an autistic adult child that they need to get a hold of both of you, get them one of their children to the Harmonic Egg as well. And then Gail, were you on James's show? James Grunberg's show?
Yes. Yep.
We got to introduce James to Suzy. So
Absolutely.
James has an autistic son. Yeah, we got to, and that would be a great one. So I would love to make that connection through email. We'll do that. So
Suzy Gail, and I tried to get on his show, and it just didn't work out. So the timing wasn't good at that time. Yeah.
Okay. Well, this is what I want to do. I want people to go out there. I want you to go to SuzyMiller.com, visit that. If you guys have an autistic child, know somebody, introduce them to Suzy Miller's website, get them out there. And I also want you to send them on over to harmonicegg.com, find a location, get your children in there. You can actually coordinate that probably with Suzy once you start working. But I want
a lot of people that way.
Perfect. Because what I want to hear is by the next time I have you two on, I want us to have stories to tell. Mm-hmm. I want people to be like, Josh, you're not going to believe this. Like, oh my God, like, because I know it's going to happen. Because I had the same feeling when Gail first came on, like this is the real deal. We're going to have some success stories off of this. And sure enough, like I only sent one, but I have like 30, 40 of them sitting in my DMs just on Social Red Pill. I've had people texting me this stuff, and people all over the country are messaging me like, hey, I saw your show, never followed you before. I saw it. I went to the Harmonic Egg. This was amazing. So like, it's fantastic how all of this stuff is coming together now. I love this. We're all here for a specific, special reason. We all chose to be here right now in this world at the great unveiling and the great revealing at the great awakening, however we want to look at it. And we all have a purpose to help heal this planet, to heal each other, and to kind of project ourselves into the future of humanity and really bring humanity back to its true nature, I think. And I think that that's what, ladies like yourselves are doing. I think that that's a beautiful thing, using your expertise, your experiences in your life and your knowledge and your creativity to go out there and produce these solutions that truly do help people, but also help progress humanity. So it's just amazing. I thank you both. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Heather's asking about a child with severe borderline personality disorder. And I don't know if Suzy has any comments about that, but in my experience, it's a lot of heavy metals that are passing through the blood-brain barrier and causing that neurological problem. So I would try a heavy metal detox or actually go to a doctor and get a urine challenge and see if there's heavy metals. Suzy, do you have the similar?
Yes, that is absolutely the case. And I also see that with that particular disorder, that if we trace back through the DNA, through the lineage a little bit, we'll find some ancestry around that in whatever way. So clearing the DNA sequence is also really helpful.
And I think this was the same Heather that commented earlier about a schizophrenic husband that she wants to put in the egg and lock it up and roll it down the hill, but we're not going to waste a harmonic egg on that, right? So it could be, like you said, in the DNA, the lineage. So there's definitely, I think it's worth a try. You have nothing to lose and everything to gain by trying the harmonic egg, and checking the urine challenge, and heavy metal detox.
Yeah, absolutely.
Fantastic. Well, I'm going to have you both of you ladies back on here. We're going to give it about a month and a half, because I want people to go out here. Well, the short term, let's see. I mean, I think that
let's go.
Suzy, I mean, I would like you to stay in touch with me and let me know, hey, look, or people are going to tell me. So they're going to tell me, hey, I'm working with Suzy, or I went to the harmonic egg. That's what happened last time. And I want to wait for the success stories to roll in. And then we're going to have you guys back. And we're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about that success. And we're going to get you guys on other shows too, because you need to get this information out there, that this is so important and so critical. Gail, is there other questions you want to touch on?
So this one is, I think it's from Grant. Grant, if you can email info@harmonicegg.com, we can get in touch that way. Because it's too much for me to type. Grab your email, because it already left the screen. But harmonicegg.com, that's where I have my books. And we have a children's book that we did basically for the autistic community called, Little Dragon and the Giant Egg. It's really cool. It's for adults as well. It's so lovely. And then I have the consciously created music with song notes on how to use those pieces of music at home, because not everybody's going to have access to a harmonic egg, but you can have access to the music that we actually have created for the harmonic egg for use at home. And you can learn how to use the colors and what it'll affect as far as your organs and chakras. So that's available as well.
Whew. Man, this was awesome. This was a great show, people. I appreciate both these ladies tonight. We're going to definitely have them back on, everybody. Please, if you guys like this content, like, share, get it out there, clip it, get it out there. We'll clip it, get it out there. But share this with people in your life who you love, have people in their life that they love who are affected by these types of things, and you think they could bring some benefit from this. So until next time, ladies, I appreciate both of you. Everybody else, much love, respect. God bless. Take care. We're going to see you guys next time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kat. Thank you so much.
Spoon, that's impossible. Only try to realize the truth.
What truth?
There is no spoon.